here we go again. Linkage Institutions, Unit 3, Video 10, Congressional Reapportionment and Redistricting. All right, so we're talking here about seats in Congress and how they get changed, where those numbers come from. Why does Florida have 27? We know it's about population, but those numbers change over time because we always have 435 seats in the House. We've had that many since 1914, I want to say. It's been about 100 years. We've had 435 all along. So what that means is we have to change the number of seats each state has. The name for that is reapportionment. All right, and it occurs every 10 years, happens after the census. So every 10 years we have a census, we find out, all right, population, and then what they do is they go ahead and reapportion or change the number of seats that each state has. So you can see on this map, Florida, Texas, a few other states gained at least one or two seats in Congress. A few other states in that orangish yellow color, they lost seats. You can see kind of population changes too from this, but that's reapportionment. Redistricting. Now, key thing I want to make sure that we're good on. Reapportionment and redistricting are not the same thing. They go together, they're similar, but they are not the same thing. Redistricting is now the process of redrawing the congressional districts, and this happens after reapportionment. Okay, so step one is that we have the census. Step two is we now update and we change the number of seats that each state has. And now step three, if your state gains or loses any seats or districts, we now have to redraw the districts in that state. It is the job of state legislatures to do that. That has been a question multiple times on the AP test. It's pretty much the only thing that state legislatures are significant for in this class. So you can look at the map here. You see the state of Louisiana. On the left, in 2010, they had 7 congressional districts. Now they only have 6. So you can see they had to redraw it. You can see the shapes. Some of them are kind of similar, but they had to redraw this state, break it up into new shapes because they lost one of their districts. All right, one thing that they are not allowed to do is there's not allowed to be any malapportionment. Like that word mal, Spanish bad. This would be a district that's badly apportioned. It's talking about districts of very unequal size. So for instance, if you had one district that had 2 million people, another district that only had 10,000 people, that would not be close to being equal, so therefore that would not be allowed because that's not fair. It would totally underrepresent the people in that larger district. It's not fair to them. So malapportionment is not allowed. The reason it's not allowed is since these 2 Supreme Court cases, Baker versus Carr and Reynolds versus Sims, which declared one person, one vote, and said that malapportionment was now unconstitutional. All right, another thing that they can do when they draw the districts is that they can engage in gerrymandering. Gerrymandering means to draw the districts in bizarre shapes. This district here is the one that many of us are probably live in. This is the one with Debbie Wasserman Schultz represents. You guys can see the shape of this. It's definitely bizarre shaped. It goes in parts from South Beach all the way up into Weston, Plantation, Wilton Manors, and you can see by the shape here, it's a little bit ridiculously shaped. So why do they do it this way? Well, there's 3 main goals when it comes to gerrymandering. One is to benefit the party. So if whoever is drawing it, remember it's the state legislatures, they draw districts in a way to favor their party. So just coincidentally in Florida right now, Republicans control the state legislature, so they have drawn the districts in a way to favor the Republican Party, which is what, you know, Democrats would do it too, but this is how it's done. So they can also do this to protect incumbents, so to make sure the people who are already there, that they get to keep their jobs, or they could do it to increase or decrease minority representation. You guys can see at the bottom there, you see that chart, and it compares the percent of the vote that was cast in those elections and then the number of seats that were won. And what you can see there, the common theme in all 5 of those states, and that would be in Florida also, is that more people or close to the same amount of people voted for Democrats and Republicans in those elections, and yet you guys can see on the side, Republicans won a lot more seats in every single state. And the reason for that is because of gerrymandering. So Democrats, they won more votes, or as many votes, won way fewer seats, and that's because they were drawn in such a way that the Democrats, they put all the Democrats basically into a few districts, so they would only win a couple districts, even though there were as many people voting for that party as the other one. Gerrymandering is allowed but there's a limit on it. The lines must be contiguous, meaning that they have to be touching. There can't be gaps in them, so they have to always be touching. Pretend like you didn't hear that. And they cannot dilute minority voting strength, so they're not allowed to do either of those two things. The Supreme Court case with that is Shaw versus Reno, which is 1993. It said that districts can't be drawn based only on race. That's a tough thing to actually prove, whether they're drawn only based on race or if that's just part of it, but they're not supposed to be drawn based only on race. They can create, though, majority-minority districts, which is districts made up mostly of minorities.